I'm tired of taking the easy route because every time I take it, I get punched in the face. You have to go through these hard things. You have to address these problems. You have to confront demons within you. That's where you get the fulfillment inside you. That's where you get to wake up and say, I have integrity because I went through all the...
God will keep on giving you the same lesson until you learn it. And if one day you forget the lesson and one day you just decide to think you're better than the lessons, it's going to come back to haunt you. Truth is just truth. There's no feelings behind it.
There's going to come a time where you have to choose between what's right and what's easy. That's literally the fork in the road for so many of us. If you're going to push heavy weight, you can't just show up and push the heavy weight. You're going to break something. This heavy stuff you're asking for. You're gonna have to prepare your body, go through the tribulation, because that's what's gonna strengthen you enough. Welcome back to the It Show. Today, we have somebody that we have been wanting to get on the show for a while. We always say that. But we have a roster of killers. Today, we have an incredible killer, and we're so excited to get into his story. But before we get to that, I want to thank you guys for subscribing. We have seen a spike on the subscribers, and that signals to you, if you're not subscribed, go ahead and do that really quick. Just go right there, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification too, so that you don't miss the next one that we post. We're coming to you every week. But with that being said, let me introduce my co-host, my best friend, William Butler.
Your what? That's a first. I've never seen that before.
I said best friend as if I was
best
black.
Friend. Okay.
Go ahead.
Best friend. All right, cool. Awesome, man. Happy to be here, as always. Super excited. As a matter of fact, we have quite the lineup this week of interviews that we're having. Yeah. Starting today with our guest here, Chase.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've known Chase a long time, the better part of a decade, and I'm looking forward to learning more about you and getting to know you more, and our audience getting to know you more as well. So you want to kind of do this introduction, bring him in, and
yeah, absolutely. Chase Greene has been a really big key player for a lot of development when it comes to residential and commercial real estate. Now he's taking his talents over to the title side, which is also very, very important for real estate. Today we have Chase Greene. Welcome.
What's up? Happy to be here. Thanks for saying killer. I feel like every time someone talks about someone in real estate doing well, it's always rock star. So a nice little change of words. I love that.
There you go.
Man.
We're gonna call him the title savage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I call my team the MLO Savages.
Okay.
Like our little group chat is Mortgage Loan Officer Savages.
Oh wow.
So we'll call you the title savage, man.
I'm cool with that.
Yeah. So a question I want to ask you, because you've been a part of some really high-powered teams.
Yep.
You got to see it on the inside, see kind of what goes into that, the effort behind it, the systems, the process, all of those different things, and to now do it in not just one industry, even though there's parallels between real estate and title, now doing it on the other side and in essence leading that, right? What would you say are some of the biggest lessons you learned in growing and developing a team?
Yeah, I think as far as developing teams, you need to create standards, you need to create a framework, you need to create structure. Without that, you keep playing in this gray area. And when you want to determine if something's successful or not, when you play in that gray area, some people will say, hey, we're doing great. And some people will say we're doing terrible, but there's no real way to judge it. So you need standards, you need frameworks, you need structure. And then number two, you need alignment. Like, I know the people you work with, you guys share similar traits one way or another, like deep thinkers, right? Give you an example, like Victor Diaz, somebody you work with, right? That is somebody who unpacks everything. When he goes down a rabbit hole, he keeps going and going and going. You're the same way, right? So I think there needs to be alignment along with those standards, because hiring is really the most important part, because as you scale, you need to feel confident that the people you hired can go out and do it on their own. And maybe not leaving the team doing their own, but creating their own frameworks, creating their own standards, understanding the culture that is set. And then once they understand that and they can go off and run, you feel pretty good that, hey, they're going to go ahead and do something that is going to benefit the overall team. So structure, frameworks, culture, alignment, probably a lot of the things you've already heard, but really putting it into action. A lot of people, I think I said this quote to you before, a lot of people are influencers. They talk about, culture and core values and stuff like that, but how many people actually implement that? Like, what are your core values? What are your principles? A lot of teams don't know.
And that's pretty big because a lot of people, a lot of companies, a lot of real estate teams, they have a list of core values that they live by, allegedly. But most times those are just words on a wall. And it's not something that the team actually follows or even believes in to a degree, right? Certain things, sometimes you'll see things that say integrity. Of course, everybody has integrity or believes they want to have integrity.
Right.
But what I've seen in our world, sometimes you have a deal and let's say an agent made a mistake on a deal and it's something that could cost the client thousands of dollars, $1,000, $2,000, whatever the case may be. Maybe they missed something, they forgot to disclose something, whatever the case may be. In those situations, they have an opportunity to live in alignment with integrity or to not. And when you look at their bank account, they say, fuck, I need this money. And they make the decision. Unfortunately, you see it. I see it all the time. In title, I'm sure you see it all the time.
Right.
In the direction of something that's out of alignment with the core values that they believe. And Tony Robbins says it. He says that people will violate their values to meet their needs. So what would you say something that I guess you do or your team do or you've seen leaders in your organization do to implement those values so that the team actually buys in and believes in these things?
Man, great question, because a lot of it is survival, right? When you get in those situations, you kind of just have to, fight for yourself, backs against the wall. One thing I've always admired about Jeremy, who's the owner of Citrus, is he's always been really big on character before he even gets into your skills. And I think going back to what developing teams need is hiring. He's always been big on, I want to have lunch with this person. I want to just talk to them on the phone and hear about their family. I want to hear how they've handled certain situations, maybe a situation like that before. Mm-hmm. He doesn't necessarily care your accolades. He cares more about your character and integrity. And I love that. And I've learned a lot from that because we've been able to get into situations where we're not hiring folks who would do that. So if you can kind of get it in front of it and say, hey, we value character over and over, and everybody behind you values character, you're not getting away with it. Mm-hmm. Because someone else on the team, if they catch you doing that, you're gone.
Right.
And also when you have an owner who pours into you like that and wants to learn more about you, it's the law of reciprocity, right? I want to do right by him. And when you hear his story, it's, okay, this guy, all he had money for was a laptop to build this company. It's 3 years in. I'm going to jeopardize that and his family? No shot. But like you said, integrity is not strong with everybody. Sometimes it is survival mode. But I do know I have a team of people where if I was in that situation, I could pick up the phone and call Jeremy and say, hey, this is where I'm at. Bank account's low. I want to do the right thing, but what do I do? And I promise you, he'd probably send me the money and say, hey, do the right thing. And so it just goes back to leadership. It goes back to hiring. I hope that all makes sense. But right. it really is the environment you're in. Because sometimes one agent, and I've had this with the team, right? You can have a top producer, a killer, but one agent can be a cancer and mess up everything in your organization. And even though they're putting up, 30 deals a year, they're preventing 30 deals from everybody else too.
Right.
And people don't want to go into work anymore. Those call nights, people stop showing up.
It's exponential.
So yeah, it's a great question.
Yeah, that makes me think of this parallel. We talk a lot about like books, movies. These are things that we are always consuming, and it makes me think of Harry Potter. Right, okay. Like one of the last scenes, one of the last movies, Dumbledore tells Harry, "There's gonna come a time where you have to choose between what's right and what's easy." He doesn't say what's hard or what's easy. He says what's right. And that always stuck with me because that's literally the fork in the road for so many of us. When it comes to what you personally have had to go through in your development of in title, in the personal residential commercial real estate spot, what are some of those forks in the roads that you've personally had to come to yourself and ask yourself those two questions? And how did you find that truth so that you could choose the right one?
Man, that's a great question. So just a background on my story. I got into real estate when I was 20 years old. So this year will be a full decade since I've been in the industry, which is insane.
That's crazy.
And I go through this process. First year, didn't do much. I read this book called The One Thing. Have you guys ever? Gary Keller. It changed my whole perspective. I think I did 4 deals. The next year I did 19. Next year I did 24 and was able to grow through that. And my father and I reconnected. And this is end of 2019, right? So we reconnected. My father's working for Lennar, sales rep out in Tampa. And man, like we didn't have, not close with my dad growing up, but we also didn't have much money. I grew up, the first house I remember was the biggest house in the neighborhood on the cul-de-sac. We had boats, we had RVs, and then one day it's all gone, right? So we have that. We reconnect, and my dad's making really good money, like $30,000 a month money. And I'm like, where did this come from? Oh yeah, I'm a sales rep with Lennar. I helped him get his real estate license. And so I'm like, I'm gonna go do that because that's the easy route. If my pops can do it, I can do it. So I get in, I go through like an 8-week training process at Lennar. Never forget this. It was a Tuesday, my last week of training. We test out on a Friday. On a Tuesday, turn on the news, COVID, 2020, right? And it was a punch in the face. Like I was supposed to sell a community in Oviedo called Estates at Wellington, which was this double lot, $600,000 home community. It was supposed to be, a cakewalk, easy. They panic. They put me in a community with 7 other sales reps. And if you've been to a new construction sales center, how many people were in there?
1 or 2?
Yeah.
1 or 2.
Yeah.
I'm working out of the kid's bedroom, and it's a fight for survival. The people up there are walking in. I'm waiting. Hey, is it my turn yet? Also, you have to remember, people forget, people think COVID was amazing time in real estate because of interest rates and the boom. For those first few months, it was not. No one was going into homes.
It was chaos.
It was chaos.
Yeah.
And so it was like my first punch in the face to say, hey, the easy route, nah. Don't. It was almost like a sign from God to say, hey, that easy route, don't even think about it anymore. So I go back to the FIG team. I become a coach, go through this coaching process, eventually become a sales director. I feel like I'm on top of the world. This is 2023. My first daughter is about to be born. I get reached out to by this guy in Miami. He's like, hey man, I've been watching you for a while. If there's ever an opportunity to come work for me, let's partner up. Let's do it together. So I leave the FIG team during my paternity leave. And I thought this was a part of my ascension. Like, hey, this was the next step for me. I did, life, everything's a cycle. I kind of felt like FIG team, top of the hill, it's time to go do something else. The boat is going to go down, kind of just thinking, and down could be still a good career, but, different. So I go and join this tech sales company, a startup. I was promised a certain pay and incentives, and I was supposed to get it by month 6. So I'm staying at this job. I hate it. It's different from real estate. There's no passion there. I'm talking to financial advisors every day, and they're just complaining about the product. It was not fun. And month 6 comes around. That commission bonus structure I was promised wasn't there. Next month, still nothing. Next month, still nothing. Hey, what's going on? Like I was promised, this whole thing. Hey, like we're not gonna pay you that. And it was another one of those moments where I felt like this was a part of my ascension. Maybe it wasn't the easiest route, but it was definitely an easier route. And I took it and I said, let's go and rock out. And this kept happening over and over and over again. And that's a big part why I got back into title or back into real estate as a whole was I'm tired of taking the easy route because every time I take it, I get punched in the face. And you have to learn it, unfortunately, Because it is these shiny objects. We talked about it off air as far as like what changed for you.
Yeah.
Sticking to the plan. There's so many different shiny objects.
So many.
And a lot of them you have easy access to.
Yep.
And you want to grab onto them because it seems like a sure deal. But you have to go through the punches in the face to say, hey, maybe I should just be in control. And maybe I should go through the hard stuff because that's what's going to get me to the next level or whatever it may be. And the thing I love about real estate too is it's all self-development. And you guys know, like, to progress or, yeah, just to progress in general, you have to go through these hard things. You have to address these problems. You have to confront demons within you. And that's where you get the fulfillment inside you. That's where you get to wake up and say, I have integrity because I went through all the bullshit.
Yep.
So
Right.
long answer, but
I love it.
the answer is really, to sum it all up, is you have to go through it, unfortunately. Everybody's going to take the easy route eventually.
Yeah.
It's not going to work out a lot of the time.
It always
But it
leads to
hasn't
the
worked
same.
out for me, right? So,
Yeah. I want to piggyback on something you said there because there was this. Are you a believer? Are you religious, spiritual? Any?
I say I'm getting there. I
Getting
think
there? Okay.
my relationship with God has definitely increased over the last year heavily. It used to be like we were strangers.
Right.
Then it was we're cordial. Now we're saying what's up to each other and having conversations.
Right. Right.
So that's where we're at right now.
Okay, that's fair. There was a very, very, very strong believer. This was at my previous company when I was in leadership over there, and she was struggling.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't closing any deals, and obviously, in our business, commission only gig, all that stuff. And she's like, I left a job that had guarantees, and I haven't been paid in 6 months. Like, I don't know if this is going to work. And I'm talking to her and I'm like, look, you just have to but she was also one of those people where, because she was technically self-employed, like if you're a realtor, mortgage loan, like you're self-employed, you're commission only gig. But a lot of people don't treat their job or their business like a job. And if they treated their business like a job, it would pay them like a business. But it's like, but if they get a guarantee, and let's just say they're getting $15 an hour over here, they're going to show up for fucking 40 hours for $15 an hour and make way less money than if you just showed up for 40 hours and actually put the work in over here and succeed. And this is the concept I was trying to talk to her about. And then she asked me a question. She said, well, have you ever struggled with something? I'm like, that's ridiculous. Of course. She's like, well, have you ever struggled with something more than once, even when you knew the answer? I'm like, oh yeah. And then she's like, well, what is it? And again, this was my subordinate, right? And she's asking me these questions that are enlightening me. So it goes, I always think you can always learn from everybody. And she's like, what was it? And I go through and I'm like, well, fuck. I've made the same mistake multiple times in my life. So to provide context, when I got into business, I was 18 years old. Mm-hmm. And I was selling legal insurance. The company's still around. It's called Legal Shield today. But at that point in time, it was called Prepaid Legal. And it was a network marketing company. And I was basically just selling legal insurance to strangers. I would literally walk up cold to people at Walmart and be like, you want to make some extra money? Like, that was my pitch.
That's
awful,
so
right?
sick.
But I was 18 years old. I didn't know what the fuck was going on. Long story short, I was just ignorance on fire. That's all it was. Long story short, I move up to the second highest position in the company. And at this point, I was 19, and I'm speaking to rooms of people that are 2-3 times my age, teaching them how to do this. But I'm ignorant. I don't even know what I was doing. I was just like talking to them, telling them what to do. Long story short, because I didn't know what made me successful, I couldn't duplicate myself. And once the fire dwindled because the excitement was no longer there, I ended up losing it all. So I built this thing, and at this point, I'm like, dude, I'm making more money than my parents. I'm still living with them at 19. I'm still living with them. I'm like, I'm making more than my parents right now. I'm fucking killing it. To then wake up one day and realize that I was in chargeback. You know what chargeback is? You ever sold insurance? So chargeback, in the insurance world, you get an advance commission. So if you have a premium, let's just call it at $50 a month, they pay you commission as if they maintain membership for 12 months.
Yeah.
So if they cancel 2 months in, you got to pay 10 months back of the commission. Right. I woke up one day and I was like, all right, I got to get after this. Should I quit my job? I was $8,000 in chargeback. And when you're 19 years old, you're like, fuck, That's a lot of money. 8 bands, bro. I'm like, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
So I ended up squandering this opportunity. My next opportunity came because of that opportunity, though.
Okay.
Because of what I was building there was a big company by the name of Chase Bank. You might have heard of them.
Hey.
I ran into a guy that was like, hey, man, you ever thought about like getting in the mortgage industry? And I'm like, no, never. But I remember when that happened and I lost it, I was like, fuck. I called the guy. Next opportunity comes up. I start working at Chase doing loan modifications. So I do loan modifications. I was number 3 in the whole company. Within 3 years, I'm number 3 in the entire company, 17,000 employees in that role.
Wow.
I'm untouchable. I'm like, I'm the fucking man. My shit don't stink at all.
And you can't even buy a drink yet.
Well, at this point, at 3 years later, I could absolutely buy a drink.
Okay, gotcha.
All right, but I was like, I'm the fucking man. I thought I was untouchable. And then what happens? I got complacent. Bigwig flies in from New York, lays off the entire building. This was, how old was I? I might have been 24 or something like that at this point in time. Laid off the whole company, the whole building, 2,000 employees in Palm Bay, Florida. And if you live in Palm Bay, Florida, if you're not an engineer, an attorney, anything like that, at that point in time, like you're not making money. The only real job was like that job because it's a small town. If you're not a government contractor or anything like that, like you're not making a ton of money. I lose everything. Lose my house on the beach. My girlfriend left me, and I'm in my brother's spare bedroom.
Sheesh.
And during that time, during my window while I was at Chase, I was also investing into a company that was my future, the Easy Path. Dude, I ended up losing $59,000. Every dollar I had was going into this thing. I stopped taking my girlfriend to lunch, stopped taking her to dinner. I was like, we can skip out. And it's funny because this conversation, we can skip out on the $30 dinner for sushi. Because that's how much they used to cost.
Yeah.
Now it's like $30 a roll, you know? But it was $30, skip the dinner. I'm like, that $30 can pay us, like, we're going to be rich if I just continue to invest this. Ended up being a $600 million Ponzi scheme. Okay? And then I get laid off. And then I'm in my brother's spare bedroom after I felt like I've already accomplished everything.
Yeah.
And then I go back, and then I go into origination, move into leadership, and now this girl's asking me this question. And I start telling her all of the stories, and she's like, you know what's funny, Will? God will keep on giving you the same lesson until you learn it. And that's the lesson that it sounds like you might have received.
Yeah.
And if one day you forget the lesson and one day you just decide to think you're better than the lessons, it's going to come back to haunt you. Because you know what happened to me 4 years ago?
Talk to me.
The same lesson. But it came back in the form of I got complacent. That was actually during the COVID years. I left the mortgage industry. I went into coaching, and then we went through significant hardship. Because the lesson for me was a bit different, right? The lesson for me was, it wasn't taking the easiest path. It was staying loyal to the fundamentals. When I was at the first company, when I was at Legal Shield, once I got up on stage, I was the fucking guy, and I stopped doing what got me there.
Of course, always.
And then when I have to teach people what I'm doing, it's theory. Because I did it, but I don't know what made it work. I was just so excited that it worked. You can't train, I was excited. So that's why people bought it.
Yeah.
You can't duplicate that.
Right.
And in a network marketing company, you need your people to be moving, right? So that was the lesson there. When I started investing in that other company, it was another MLM-esque type of deal where you're putting your money into penny auctions, and then I'm recruiting people. I recruited my friends, my family, and then one day everybody loses all of their shit, and you get a class action lawsuit for the largest Ponzi scheme, or a $600 million Ponzi scheme, pretty fucking significant Ponzi scheme. Mm-hmm. And I'm looking around and I'm like, I convinced my friends and family to do this deal, and they all lost it. And then when I'm at Chase, I'm not even exploring outside opportunities, even though I tasted entrepreneurship, I tasted winning. I was so comfortable with where I was because it was like a Fortune 500 company. I'm just going to win. I got complacent, lost it.
Yeah. So oh my God, the documentary, it's not called How to Live Forever, but it came out maybe a decade ago. And it's this guy who turns 50 years old, and he just goes to all of these folks across the world who are 100 years old and are living great. He goes to this boxer who's like 93 and he's boxing every day and he's hitting hard, like knock my ass out.
Yeah.
And he goes to this lady who's, gone through, she's 110 and this came out in 2010, 2014. And he goes, what was the greatest day of your life? And it was the day they signed the treaty for World War I. And he asked her, why is that the greatest day in your life? And he goes, because I knew she goes, from that point on, I knew there wasn't going to be any more wars. It's after World War I. 20-something years later, World War II comes and is way worse. And it goes back to the theory of we always root our beliefs in what we want to be true. And so when you're at that company, you are thinking it's only up from here because that's what you want to believe.
Right.
And it can backfire a lot of times. And if it's a tough place to be in because on one hand, you want to be positive, you want to be optimistic about the future. You've had people on here, I've heard Bobby say, talking about a miracle in your mouth. You want to be positive, you want to take in positive things. And if you take in too much negative stuff, you're going to be a negative person as well. But there needs to be some type of balance where I'm thinking positive, but I have a lot of like paranoia of like, this can be taken at any moment. That's something that I deal with right now is like, hey, things are going really well, but I'm looking everywhere to see what could potentially ruin this foundation or break this castle down, especially when you have kids. It's like,
right,
man, do you also believe, question for y'all, like, do you also believe in a sense that sometimes your ascension, if you will, or where you're supposed to be going, God comes down and gives you lessons that you need and you don't see it until a few years after? I'll give you an example. So I go through these moments of kind of being punched in the face. I get back up, kicks me back down. And I always thought like the lesson in that was just work harder, have more autonomy of what you are doing and, stop taking the easy route. And that's true. But also during that time, my wife loses her father. And I had never had that test of how to console a partner.
right.
And I'm also like, hey, maybe I'm getting kicked in the face and, unemployed for a certain amount of time because God's like, hey, you need to work on this part of your life. You need to figure out how to console your partner when she loses the most important man in her life. And now you got to step up and be that. Or, I thought one of the lessons I got from the last few years was I always tied my worth to my work, meaning like I'm a very recognition-based person. And so when my birthday comes around and so people want to celebrate me, it's always like, nah, I'm good. Like, no, I didn't do good this year. So therefore, what am I being celebrated for? I didn't win nothing. And then, you realize with kids and your wife and stuff like that, like, bro, they don't care. They don't care what you do.
Right.
They just love you for you. And like unconditional love was something I had to learn. So sometimes like you do have to learn the same lesson over and over again. But in hindsight, there's a lot of lessons that I'm like, man, I didn't want to learn this lesson. And God was like, but you need to learn it.
Mm-hmm.
You need to learn it, brother. Do you feel that way in a sense?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the Dark Knight talks about it's always darkest before the dawn. Like, I believe that to be true. 100%. And I'm sure, Eddie, you got some stories you could share on this.
Yeah, I mean, dude, where do I start? I think when it comes to learning these lessons, I like to liken it to almost like going to the gym.
Okay.
Right? Like if you're going to push heavy weight, you can't just show up and push the heavy weight. You're going to break something.
Okay.
So God goes, okay, we got to work on your form. We got to work on some of these supporting muscles, right? We got to strengthen these. How do we strengthen them? We got to break them a little bit. You got to break them a little bit over here, break your delts a little bit here, break your biceps a little bit so that you can actually grab the thing and then hoist it over once I'm ready to give you the weight that you're asking for, right? Like I'm asking God, like, dude, I want this to work out. I want the success here. I want the family. I want the trip, the security, all that stuff. But he goes, this is heavy stuff you're asking for. You're gonna have to prepare your body to hold what I'm about to put on you. And that's the way that I look at it. The way that I look at it is like, well, God is asking you to go to the gym and then do arms just for today. They're gonna suck. There's still a purpose for why you're doing it. You're gonna have to go back and do legs. it's really going to suck, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's a reason why you're doing it. You're going to have to go back and do it back. And all compounds to a place where now you're ready.
Foundation's good.
You might not know that you're ready. But all of a sudden, the thought enters your head. It's like, let me just throw this 160-pound thing around. And you grab it and you throw it up. And you're like, how the fuck did I do that?
Yeah.
And then you look back and you go, oh, I've been going to the gym. And I've been showing up every time, whether I wanted to or not. I just did the thing. I just asked God, and God said, okay, here's a problem. Here's a thing. Go through the tribulation, because that's what's going to strengthen you enough.
It almost helps you learn faith, right? Like faith is a muscle in a sense, right?
Yep.
And things like that example there, it's testing your faith of like, hey, this thing sucks. I mean, I don't really see my arms moving. I know they're sore as hell, but like, what are we doing here? Like, I'm still lifting the same weight. What are we doing? And then 6 months go by and you have everything that maybe not you wanted, but you need to be able to perform for what you had originally asked for.
Mm-hmm.
It's really cool.
And it's exciting when you start seeing that progress too.
Yeah.
I mean, we all have seasons. Like we're coming back from a down season of fitness, or towards the tail end of last year. Like I just started squandering all the gains I had throughout the year. I'm like, oh, it's fucking vacation time. Let me eat whatever I want. And to see, like, since January 13th, I weighed myself today down 12 pounds and I feel fucking great. I'm like, let's go, right? The challenge is, how do you drop the weight without losing the muscle? And I'm like, because we talk about picking up little things. This man said 160 pounds. I'm like, my man Chase bench pressing 225. What you talking about?
Yeah, 225, 230.
Right.
Yeah.
See? When you know, you know. When you know, you know. But to answer your question, 100%. I think that God will definitely... TD Jakes, I was listening to TD Jakes' interview the other day, and he said that they call that the chastening. Is it chastening? Or the pruning.
Okay.
When you're going through that, you're being pruned so you do have the lessons, so that when what is for you, you have everything you need for what is for you. And if it's not for you, it won't be given to you.
Yeah.
Right. And that was kind of like revealing for me, because a lot of times I'll pursue the shiny objects because it's in front of me. I see it. So because I see it, it has to be for me. If I see it and nobody else sees it, then that's right here, baby. That's right. This is my opportunity. But again, it leads back to, are you taking the easy way out? And kind of going back to that story for me, it wasn't always just taking the easy way. It was staying loyal to the foundations. You can pursue new things. That's completely fine. But don't change what you're already doing until this is proving that it can either match or replace what you currently have. Were you at the event we had when we had Tim Storey come into town? This was 2018, 2019.
I don't think so.
So Tim Storey is he's a speaker and a life coach. He was actually Kanye West's life coach.
Okay.
He was on Oprah show. He's a pretty cool guy. And he's also a pastor. He has his own congregation down in California. And we had an event. We used to have this thing called the MBRI, which was the Mortgage Broker and Realtor group. That's what it was, MBRI. It's been such a long time. Lame. It definitely had a better name, okay? But that's what it was called, the MBRI.
I'm kidding.
And we would fly in speakers. So we flew in Tim Storey.
Okay.
For a small group. We had about 300 people there. It was dope as fuck. And I was emceeing the event. And I had dinner with him after the event was over. And I was like, hey, man, I pull him aside, right? Because he gave his message. I was like, man, you're talking about this and that. And I was like, I got to be honest with you, man. This mortgage thing, I'm so burnt out from it. And I want to do this coaching thing. I really want to do this coaching thing. And being that you're doing it, do you have any advice for me? And he looks at me and he says something so basic, because it was the same message that he had when he spoke on stage. And he told me the same shit. I was like, that was weak. But as time passed on, I was like, that was fucking brilliant. He said, well, you just need to work your land. What does that mean? Right?
What does that mean, Kanye? What does that mean, Kobe? Right. You see that commercial? What does that mean, Kobe Bryant?
What the fuck does that even mean, Kobe Bryant? More. He's just working land. And basically what that means is,
do the best with what you have, because whatever's next for you will present itself by doing your best.
Mm.
So if I have this little garden and I do a shit job with this garden, if you give me a big fucking garden, the weeds are going to grow there too. If I have a little bit of money and I'm not managing my little bit of money, when I get a whole lot of money,
What do you think you're gonna do?
right? And the concept is so simple, and it kind of goes back to a simple truth. Jim Rohn used to always say, there are no new truths. Truth is truth. Elijah, who we had our ghost, he said, truth is just truth. There's no feelings behind it.
Yeah.
It's just truth. And I feel that's an absolute truth.
100%.
Yeah.
Dude, there's such a freedom, I feel like, when that actually lands, because it's trying to land on our life all the time. And what are we fighting it for? With the shield of ego. We're putting up who we think we are, who we've worked on, who we earned, right? Like blood, sweat, and tears, all that shit. This is me. And then God goes, no, I'm trying to land a different plane on you. And you're trying to fight it. The moment that plane of truth lands on you, actually allow it to land on this strip, there's a freedom in just knowing that, like, okay, this is what I've been given. This is where I'm at. This is what I'm working. And I'm thinking of somewhere else. How is that affecting my actions, right?
Yeah, Jim Rohn has a quote that ties into this. He goes, I don't want you at the beach thinking about work, but also don't be at work thinking about the beach. It really just means like be where your feet are.
Yep.
Right.
And it is a hard thing to understand, especially when you have things like vision boards where constantly you're looking at where your life is going to go and you've been told manifest. And what happens is, I forget the phobia you develop, but you almost trick your mind into thinking where I'm at right now is not a good place. I should be having the car that I'm looking up on cars.com. I should be in the house I'm looking up at Zillow. Are you looking up on Zillow? And it plays with your mind.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people are afraid to play their role.
Yeah.
You know, maybe because we think time is so short and we got to, you know, and life is short, but we got to get to it right now. And it goes back to that other quote of like, you'd be surprised what you could do in 5 years. What is it? You overestimate what you can do in a year. You underestimate what you can do in 5.
Right.
And a lot of us are so afraid to play a role, but sometimes that role is exactly what we need. Like you going through that whole process, it's probably tough finding a silver lining in it. I'm sure you probably went with, you know, probably had a lot of guilt when you're investing in, you know, that company and you've got your family and friends, but you're able to work through it.
Right.
You know, and so that's amazing, man. I think it also goes back to work your land. I like that in the sense of everybody that I know that is super successful, whether it be real estate or anything, they always go deeper, not wider. They always go deeper. Hey, who is my demographic? Who is my community? Let me go so deep into that. And once that's done, once the soil is good and the trees and the plants are blossoming, let me go build over here now. But it's such a trade-off, man. Like going back to vision boards and goal setting, we always do goal setting at the end of the year. And it's always more and more and more and more and more. Maybe weight is less. But for the most part, it's like, I want the new car, I want the new house, I want more vacations, I want that banging body that I can't wait to go to the next event and take my shirt off and look like a king. But what are you giving up? You know, and sometimes we need to look in the mirror or just, you know, write it out and saying, okay, if the body's going to be banging this year, what am I giving up?
Yeah. Right.
And we just want everything. Like there's such a, I don't know, maybe greed is the right word.
Mm-hmm.
There's such greed all the time of like, okay, I did a little bit here. Now it's time to do everything. So it is tough to deal with, man.
Yeah. It's a balance. And we're reading right now a book called 10X.
Right.
It's
Okay.
easier than 2X.
Yeah, I've heard great things.
You've heard about it, right? And we've been trying to bring it into, and this is the perfect opportunity. In that book, there's a concept that says that when we're operating, there's about 80% of the things that we're doing that are not giving us the result that we want, and about 20% of the things that we're doing that are going to give us the result we want.
Sure.
When you're trying to 10X, you have to do this inversion where you eliminate 80% of the things that you're doing. That process is so tough, especially when you've gotten comfortable, when you know the things, when you know what to say, when you internalize your script,
Right.
when you know how to get the result that you've been getting. But in order to do 10x, in order to go exponentially high, you have to give up 80% of that. And there's 20% that's the toughest stuff that now has to become your new 80%.
Mm.
In that process, there's inherent greed, I think. But I think the way to make it work is don't do it with the intention that like all the things that you want that are outside of your garden are gonna come. You're doing it so that now your garden, you're going to make it the best fucking garden that you could possibly do it. And the only way to do it is to 10x this garden. And every single time that people, incredible geniuses in the world do that process, they elevate and they go to that next level. That's when the next level unlocks. That's when God goes, you figured out the key to this one.
Okay, let me ask you a question with the 80-20 rule. How does he give a tactical process or an exercise as to how you figure out what is your 80% and what is your 20%?
Yeah.
Because we're all fathers here. Y'all know once you become family men, it's like family first. And, you know, you're not sleeping as much, you're going to work, you're getting home, you're putting on the fatherhood cape and you're being the best dad you can be. There's not a lot of time for distraction, if you will. Like as soon as you become a father, like it's not as much leisure time anymore. So being who we are, how do you figure out what the 80% of stuff that is not valuable is? Because I almost feel like maybe not everything I do is valuable, but a lot of it has a purpose because I'm not even putting myself first anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So how are you going through that process?
I would say you just start tracking things. Like, have you
Time
ever
audit?
tracked your day?
Yeah.
It's very revealing.
Yeah, that is a little crazy.
It's like I remember complaining how I have no time, and then I started. I tracked my day one day, and I was like so disgusted with myself. I'm
I
like,
hear you.
fuck.
This is after fatherhood, before?
This was during.
Okay, I need to redo it then.
And when you do, have you ever done 75 hard?
Yeah.
Oh, you realize how much time you actually have.
Yeah, it's true.
You do 75 hard, it's like, I got to do two, like, because I couldn't even find, allegedly, all right, I'm going to say fucking allegedly, because I was like, oh, I'm getting fat, I'm getting out of shape. It was like, I don't have any time, I'm working so hard, and I did 75 hard. Now, I got time for 2 workouts?
Yeah.
I got time
and a book.
And
And drinking water.
and take a piss 36 times a day?
Yeah,
like,
right.
It's so excessive, right?
Yeah.
Because you're drinking a gallon. But it's like, damn, how much time do I actually have? And I'll put it into terms that I think would be most beneficial for our audience. Most of our audience is real estate related, although this is for everybody. But I'm going to put it actually in terms of business, or if you're in sales, anything like that. Look at your previous closings. Okay, so if you look back at real estate, you look at title right now, or you look at real estate, I look at mortgage. Where did these leads come from? All of your closings, look at them. And I started looking at mine. And right now we're hard on this content game. Like this was back burner for us because we're like, there's no ROI on it. It's a passion project, a labor of love, as we would call it. And whereas now it's like, it's actually really exciting that we're doing this and we're doing this content because now there's also, this leads to one of our other targets, which is now we actually have content. We find our tribe and we're tying this right here, which if you look at both of our business, this is probably not an ROI positive thing. This right now at this point in time, this is probably not even probably
productive activity.
This is the 80%.
Yeah.
You should not be doing this if our only objective is that. But we have other objectives, right? So if you're inside a business, look at your closings. Let's just say last month, let's just say you had 20 closings. Where did those all come from? And if you look at it, you say, okay, this came from Edelio, this came from Victor, this came from Alexis, this came from there. Okay, what led to that happening? And start tracking that shit. Because one thing that I'm realizing a trend, at least maybe it's just because the agents that I'm working with now are all social media people. Back in the day, dude, it was all buying leads. It was all Zillow. It was all Realtor.com. It was all pay-per-click. It was all that shit. And we made a killing, but it costed us a fuckload of money to do it. I remember I was spending $6,000 a month just on Zillow leads alone, and Zillow leads were $200 a lead and shit. I'm like, God, if we have one bad month,
We're cooked.
we're fucked, right?
Yeah.
Granted, we manage the money well, so like, but $6,000 a month is a big expense if you're not closing anything.
Yeah.
And the way we looked at it was, well, what is my cost of acquisition? Inside a business, everybody has a cost of acquisition. If you're on a team, maybe you don't, right? But let's just take Gil, for example. Gil has a big fucking team. How many people are on his team? Like 20?
Yeah, he wants to have over 30 this year.
He wants to have over 30, all right? He's a lunatic, right? But he wants to have 30. He's a big dreamer. He's a big believer, and he's a big executor. I'm sure if you look at his P&L, he has a cost of acquisition.
Mhm.
If I'm spending $20,000 a month on leads to drive traffic to our team, how much does it cost for us to have one closing?
Right.
Okay. How much money do we need to spend so that we can track the conversion? But you can't track that conversion in 30 days. Because if you started investing in leads today, a lot of those leads aren't going to close in the next 30 days.
Yep.
You might get lucky. But 90-day cycle, okay, now you have something you can work with. 6 months, 12 months, now you have concrete data that you can work with. But if you're not tracking any of that,
Mm-hmm.
there's no predictable way for you to grow your business. If you're not tracking all of that shit, there's no predictable way that you can know what your 20% is.
Yeah.
In my business, I would have to imagine our businesses are very similar.
Yeah.
Right? You probably have a time blocked in your calendar where you're reaching out to centers of influence that have your clients.
Mhm.
For both of us, that would be 9 times out of 10, who?
Realtors.
Realtors.
Yeah.
I have my goal is to do 3 to 5 lunches per week, face to face with an agent.
Same. 5 appointments a week.
5 appointments a week. And I don't always land on 5 because sometimes things get rescheduled and I don't rebook something, but like I always have at least 3.
Yep.
Okay. And I just try to get on the phone with people, talk to them, and I always try to have some kind of story. If I'm driving to, let's say we had lunch not long ago at the Whiskey. Okay.
Yep.
What that would typically look like, to give tactical advice for anybody who's watching the show. The next time I was walking past the Whiskey, or I went to the Whiskey, I might be like, dude, I'm at the Whiskey. Just thinking about you, man. How you doing?
Right.
Such an easy in
Touch point.
to start a dialogue.
Yeah.
And then we track, like on our side, on the lending side, we track like I have a top 30 list. All 30 of those people are going to be face-to-face with me. Something. It doesn't have to be coffee, it doesn't have to be lunch. It could be a Zoom, it could be whatever. But I'm getting face-to-face with at least 30 of you where I'm in front of you and I'm talking about business.
Right.
Because you can do the things, like I fell into the trap of, and this is why it's important to track. I used to take people to lunch and then we would have a great time and then they would never send me business. Because I wasn't intentional. I wasn't asking. So when I say tracking, I'm tracking, if I'm meeting with you, am I getting business from that?
Right. Have you done the math? And I love goal setting is like my favorite thing.
Mhm.
Have you done the math as to, let's just use 5 as an example. If you go on 5 appointments with either new or existing customers, realtors, centers of influence, what does that equal for you projected wise by the end of the year? As far as, are you tracking, for example, I do 5 appointments because that equals 240 deals that I've generated. Now that's what I believe based off the math and based off of.
What is the math for you? To 5 appointments equals 240?
5 appointments equals, what is it? It's a 20, essentially 20 new or boosting relationships every single month, which turns into, what is that? 240 contacts. Those people send referrals and I can do Zoom calls and stuff like that. So the way I did the math, it's in my like ChatGPT kind of like going through. I don't remember the exact math on it, but I'm tracking that now. And that's what I use as my black and white to say, did I win the week or not?
Right.
Now, the great thing about it is, even if I don't hit 240 deals by the end of the year, I still have the formula.
Mhm.
So if I do 5 appointments every single week, and at the end of the year, I do this for a whole year, I end up with 200. Well, now I know 5 a week equals 200. And so if I want to do 240 next year, I just change the formula a little bit. And the
Right.
great thing about real estate too is it compounds. So essentially you may be able to do 5 appointments, every week, next year and get your
still-
240.
Right.
Because your conversion rate's going to go up a little bit because you're better at it. You're going on reps.
It grows.
But I love what you said because I think I could be totally wrong, but just from managing agents and being an agent and going through it and developing and stuff like that, the sample size they use is too small.
Right.
It's a quarterly sample size. It's a 30-day sample size. Oh, it's not working. Abandon it. You haven't even given yourself enough reps
Right.
to perfect your pitch.
Yep.
Or to perfect your process.
And they don't even practice outside of with live ammunition. I think the biggest problem a lot of agents have, especially when they're just starting out, they're practicing their pitch in front of a live client. It's like, hold on. You don't practice at all?
You don't role play?
Outside of this? Dude, can you imagine? Well, I can't imagine because I've done it. We've all done it, right? And it's like, fuck, it's not working.
Yeah.
But that's like, dude, those reps are so crucial. When I went into coaching, when I left mortgage, I went into coaching, I realized that I was not a good salesperson, which is fucking bizarre because I was closing over 100 deals a year. But I'm like, oh, to sell coaching, it requires you to actually have true salesmanship. Because so my coaching program was $6,900. And then I got really good at selling that. And then what ended up happening was when I started selling my coaching, I started doing well. I'm in other coaching groups because I believe you should always be coached.
Yeah, coaches need coaches. Yeah.
These other coaches who were selling $20,000 packages started like, hey man, like I heard you on the call. Like I think you'd be a great closer for our company. Would you be open to contract closing for us? All you have to do is show up to a call and sell. And you don't have to do any of the coaching. You don't have to do anything other than show up to a Zoom for 30 minutes and sell this product. So I started selling Airbnb coaching, right? $20,000 Airbnb coaching for rental arbitrage, which is like $20,000 a lot of money.
Jeez.
Bro, I was closing so many fucking deals because what I learned was when I'm selling mortgages, it's going to sound terrible, right? But it might sound similar if you're in even if you're a real estate, this could sound similar. Your friend, family comes to you, they're looking to buy a house, and then now it's just a glorified customer service role. I'm just going to help you find what you're looking for.
Right.
In mortgage, hey, I'm buying this house. I need a mortgage. Like you're either going to go to me or you're going to go to somebody online. So it requires a little bit of salesmanship, but not that much.
As far as like sales tactics, you mean like
Yes.
creating urgency, things like
right,
that? Okay.
right. With the consumer, because they're basically at that point, they're already buying. They just
Right.
need to choose who they're using.
Right.
So it's not as much salesmanship required to land that ship.
Right.
Maybe it requires salesmanship to the agent to send you deals, but that's not the same thing as, hey, give me $20,000
Right.
for a result that you may or may not get. And based on statistics, you're probably not going to get. And that led me down a whole path of like actually learning sales. And I felt like I knew it before then.
Mm.
And it's one of those things where the more you know, the more you realize how little you know.
Of course.
And oh my God. So I do a role play every Tuesday now. I do role play and call night every Tuesday now. And sometimes people don't show up. Other times people show up and there's good feedback and things like that. People get good. But there's an agent, I'm not going to say his name, but there's an agent who begged me to start doing role plays again because it was so valuable for him. And when he started doing role plays, he started closing deals. And then he got away from the fundamentals, stopped doing role plays. And then he begged me to do it again. And he hasn't shown up to a single role play, right? Even though he's the catalyst that made me start doing it.
Yeah.
But it taught me a few things, okay? Regardless of he or nobody shows up, I'm staying loyal to my fundamentals. Because if you learn something to a degree to where you're teaching it, you'll learn it way better than if you're just showing up as a student. And a lot of the times, some of the foundational things that I've learned about sales, I learned through teaching somebody it, where I understand it, and then I'm reminded of it as we're having the conversation.
I think right now, one of the biggest objections that I see, especially in real estate, since that's the industry we're all in right now, is a timing objection. It's cost and it's time. And one thing that most agents have no idea of is how to motivate action now. So when somebody says, look, I'm just gonna buy in 9 months, I guess you'll buy 9 months. But the B-bag bus rarely comes back. That's another thing you learn here in this business long enough.
Mm-hmm.
Was that being an actual question?
I could respond to that if you need me to. So I have this rule. So my jam is frameworks, more so database management. Like you guys use Follow Up Boss. Like I've been meeting with a lot of the agents on the team and just creating frameworks and structure within Follow Up Boss for them. And I use 4 stages: hot, warm, nurture, and watch. And it's all based on time frame. So your hot leads are people who can transact within 0 to 30 days. So we want to contact them at least once a week. Warm leads, someone who can contact between 30 days and 90 days, is somebody we want to contact at least once every 2 weeks. Now, if the system or when you're talking to them, it creates something a little bit more urgency and you want to follow up with them more often, by all means, but at least once every 2 weeks. Nurtures 3 to 6 months, watch 6+ months out. For the watches that are 6+ months out, we want to contact them at least once every 4 weeks. And people are always, the response I always get is like, well, if they're 6+ months out, why am I calling them today? Well, something happens, triggers, if you will. I'll give you an example. In 2021, the year starts, my little vision board, my birthday's in December. I'm like, I'm gonna buy myself a little Tesla at the end of the year. End of the year, December. Go through January, all I see is those Teslas on the road. I'm like, man, those are so cool. Algorithm changes, Tesla's coming up. I had never looked at gas when I was driving by in my Jeep. But now all of a sudden I'm like, wow, diesel's that much? I had a diesel car at the time. I'm spending X amount of money. And then sure enough, on Easter, I buy a Tesla 7 months before I was supposed to. Why? Because of these triggers that just keep happening and happening and happening. And that's how it is with home buyers and sellers sometimes. It's like they have one trigger saying, I'm 6 months out. But then they see a fly-ass house. And it's like, I know I said 6 months, but maybe we don't need that 20%. Maybe 15 is cool. I mean, PMI is not that bad. Let's go ahead and rock out with 15. Or, hey, I'm 9 months out. Have you thought about new construction? Because it could take 6 to 9 months. And the great thing about that is you get to design it, you get to pick your neighborhood. God forbid we get in an earlier phase and now your investment goes way up. Agents don't think about that. Agents don't think about there's triggers involved and people's timeline gets moved way up. How many times have y'all had a situation where someone's 6 months out and you call them 6 months out and what do they tell you? I already bought a house. Yeah. I already bought a house. Yeah. And so going back to your point as far as like, follow up and triggers and all that stuff, like creating urgency is a real thing. Sometimes you have to remember the personality type you're dealing with. Right, so have you guys ever taken a DISC assessment?
Of course.
So you have your D, which is very direct. You have your I, which is very influential. These are, you're flamboyant, like want to tell you their story and the whole 9. Then you have your S. The way I look at S is very steady, but also kind of shy, right? Those are the people in this market, it's very hard to move. Do they still buy? Yeah, and sometimes we try to, instead of meeting them where they're at, we try to get them to do our process. So it is this kind of dance, if you will, of like understanding you want to create urgency, but you don't want to create too much urgency because now we're a magnet on the same side and we're just pushing them away. So they're 2 weeks away, now they're a month away. Now they're 45 days because you pressed too hard. So it is this dance and you have to figure out who they are and what their personality type is.
Right. So, one thing I found with those S's, because those S's can be hard, especially when there's a lot of uncertainty, right? And, I'm dealing with one right now where first homeowner in her family, all her whole family is saying it's a terrible time to buy, things are too expensive, you're going to lose your hat. And, those, when you come across this stuff, and then I'll provide my insight as well, but how would you motivate somebody in that situation where maybe they see a house, they love the house, they want the house, but they're an S personality, they're very cautious, that they don't know what they actually want, but that they did at one point tell you this is what they wanted.
Yeah.
How would you handle that?
Yeah. How would I respond to a situation like that? I think the most important thing in real estate as an agent or even a lender or title is setting up front expectations. And if you have some type of framework like an LP Mama, you can figure out a lot of things. And the M in LP Mama is sometimes the most important, which is motivation. Right? And it's going back through what matters to you. Because a lot of times they know what matters to them, but because they're an S personality type, when it is time to make a decision, they shy away from it. So I'll give you an example. I had this client, Nina. She wanted a pool home in a good community, and she wanted a room because her husband, he made action figures. He didn't just buy, he made them. So she wanted like a separate space. And we go through this home and she's like, oh, this is good. I'm like, what do you mean it's good? It has the room for your husband here. This is exactly where his action figures will go. The pool is massive. You have the bedrooms for your kids. They're away from the front door, so you don't need to worry about them, sneaking out in the middle of the night was a thing that she was worried about. It was Sweetwater Estates, a great community. What do you mean? She was like, oh my gosh, like, you're right. You're right. Those are the things that I wanted. Sometimes you have to bring it to the forefront with them. And a situation like you gave with, brother, father, sister, mother, whoever, telling them, hey, this is what's going on right now. I think a lot of us try to discredit what is being said, right? No, your mom doesn't know what she's talking about. A lot of times it's great to acknowledge what is being said. Hey, I hear you. Like, I actually have this chart that supports what your mom says. But I also want you to look at this part. If it is really hard to buy a house right now, the people that can buy a house, do you think that's valuable? Right? And you can kind of use the information that they have and create a different path. Right. Manipulation is not the right word, but you can use data based on what it is you're trying to accomplish, if that makes sense. Right. So you can use the data in your favor that they provide. So using correct data and then setting up front expectations to understand, hey, from the very beginning, I'm not gonna push you to make any decisions, but if we're gonna have a conversation here and I know what you want and that thing comes up, I'm not gonna push you, but I'm gonna give you a little nudge and be like, yo, this is it. Do we really wanna lose this? And a lot of times that's what gets people over the hump. Another thing is like, I find a lot of agents don't even ask after the showing. You assume that this carpet's nice, but let's just assume this carpet's ugly. They walk into a house and this is the carpet everywhere. You assume that there's no way they would want this carpet. It's gross. What's the old saying? When you assume, you make an ass out of you and me. And we go through the property and we assume there's no way they want that. I've been surprised so many times where I go through a property that maybe I wouldn't want. We finish going through it and I ask, hey, do you think this house is a contender? Maybe something you guys would consider putting an offer on? Yeah, we would. What do you think a good offer would be? And I'm just like, no way. But how many of us don't even ask? It goes back to like some realtors, lenders, whoever think it's all customer service. And it's just, how can I guide you along the way? But a big part of guiding is getting them over those little roadblocks. And you need some sales techniques in creating urgency. One simple one is just asking after you show the property, hey, is this something you guys would consider putting an offer on? Can you see yourself living here? Long answer, but.
No, that's a good answer.
Yeah.
I would say one thing that you did really well there was just ask them questions. Big error I see a lot of agents make is they don't ask the question. They just start telling. And one of the things I learned from a guy, Jeremy Miner, I'm not sure if you know who
Love
that is.
Jeremy Miner, yeah.
Gangster. One of the things that I learned from him was your prospects already have all of the answers. Your only job is to ask the questions that lead them to the answer. And as long as, this is now what I would add to that, is because sometimes it can be very manipulative. Mm-hmm. Sometimes sales training can be absolutely manipulative. You got to do a hard check first.
Yeah.
Like if you're doing it for your own reasons and not for their reasons, no one. But if you're doing it and you're moving them in the direction of what they said they wanted, fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm all for it. And so one of the questions we asked her was, well, first off, before we even asked the question, we asked for permission. Like, cause she wanted to pull out of a contract and all that stuff. It was.
You're saying, when you say ask for permission of like, hey.
Oh, let me give you, okay, gotcha. Right.
Can I be direct with you?
Yeah, why?
Notice the pauses. I don't know how to say this without it coming out like I'm offending you. But can I, like, are you sure I can be direct? Yes. Because I don't know how to say this without you taking it the long way. Right. And then at this point, no, just shoot straight. Okay. I believe you're making a mistake. Do you want me to tell you why I think that? They say yes. Okay. You give them the data. And then before I tell them what they should do, I never tell them what they should do. I just tell them what I believe because they gave me permission. I give them the data like, hey, she wanted to be at this amount, like her payment, she wanted to be below $2,400. She wanted it to only come out of pocket this much money. Bro, the realtor got 4% concessions, so we could use that to buy down the rate.
Checkpoint. Yep.
Checkpoint. She looked at a ton of other houses. None of them met. None of some of them, the ones that they did find was either too expensive or they weren't offering the closing costs. So she's like all the things, right? And I said, have you considered maybe what would happen if you pulled out of this contract and started looking for something else that didn't exist? What happens then? And then now it's up to her to decide.
Yeah.
And so I think what you did really well is ask the questions. And I think everybody just asked more questions and understood what it is that people want, and for their own reasons, you just ask the questions that redirect them to their North Star. Everybody convert way more.
I agree. Can I tell you something we did at the FIG team that we trained our agents on for the first showing that I thought was a game changer? So a lot of these leads that we would get would be from Zillow, referral sources. We're meeting them for the first time, right? One of the things we would do is we would get to the property early and we would kind of play inspector, right? Check the roof, check the AC, check the vents to see, if there's any dirt coming out, stuff like that. A lot of clients or customers at this point, they're not clients yet, are going to that appointment and they think of realtors, and you guys have heard the term of used car salesmen and stuff like that. And a lot of realtors they've probably met at an open house, sell the house, sell the house, sell the house. We would train our agents that when they would walk in, hey, just want to let you know, roof 2005. If you guys do like this, that may be an issue. Hey, I'm looking at the vents, it's dirt. It could be something that pops up during inspection. Just want to let you know. So you're giving people these, I don't want to say ways out, but these areas of concern that shows them as an agent, I don't care if it's this house that you buy, but I'm going to look out for your best interest wherever it is. And I'm setting the tone on this very first property. Brother, game changer when showing a house.
Because you establish trust immediately.
It's not about me. It's about finding you the best property.
I find that as the person that's in front of these clients all the time, it's so important for most agents to just realize, like, before you start having success, you're going to have this battle between your bank account and the client's best interest. What most agents don't realize until years later is, how they say commission breath, you can smell it. You can smell, or you can at least capture the energy of someone's intention way before they step in through your door.
Oh, yeah.
So, but that's one thing that I always do now. And it's completely changed my game, is set the intention. As soon as I'm walking in through those doors, I'm asking myself, I'm going to have a conversation with this couple about selling their house. If at the end of that conversation, I don't get the listing, will I still feel good about this interaction I'm about to have with them? And I go, yes, because I'm going to have an honest, I'm going to find out what their problems are. I'm going to give you solutions. I'm going to try and help you. And even if I don't get the listing, I still feel good because my intention was to help. If I'm not asking myself that question, then I'm not going to have the result that I want, because they're going to catch that. They're going to get the scent before I belong through. So that's very important.
I love that. I love what you said as far as intent goes. I think a lot of times we're programmed to believe that in this society, intentions don't matter anymore, and it's all results. And to an extent, a lot of it is. Intentions are for you, though. Intentions are, if you don't get that listing, you can walk away and say, I feel good about myself in that situation. I didn't get the result I wanted, and we are judged on that, and the bank account reflects that and stuff like that. But man, I can sit with myself today, knowing I didn't act out of alignment of who I am and my beliefs. It's really cool.
So this show is obviously the it show. And it wouldn't be the it show if we didn't encourage independent thought and we didn't question everything and just think objectively. So what is maybe one thing that you may have believed 5-10 years ago that you no longer believe today?
Man, there's so many things, and I love that you guys asked this question. I'm a big fan of your podcast. This isn't, I watch a lot of these people give amazing answers, and I've been trying to figure out which answer to give you guys, and I still don't know specifically. The one I love the most is the one I struggled with, which was the worth being tied to my work and the recognition aspect of I'm only as good as how successful I am, and then realizing that success comes from the greatest thing in the world, which is unconditional love. And that comes from having great integrity, having strong beliefs, and being aligned with who you are, and a lot of self-discovery. That's something that has been huge for me as far as my journey, whether that's with, myself, with God, with my family, so on and so forth. It's just realizing that the worth is not from the work. Another thing that I think is really cool that I've realized is effort goes way beyond skill. Effort is actually what translates into skill because of the repetitions. I give this story, and I won't say the agent's name. It's going to sound like I'm, talking down on them. We had this agent at the Fig Team one time. This agent had a beat up car. They always tell you in real estate, like, you got to get a nice car. You're going to be going on these appointments. She walked with a limp. You're showing houses. People are following you. It's a little, you don't want to have that, I guess. She had a speech impediment. Right? So realtor was wheelter. You know what I mean? Like, I say these things to say she had everything stacked against her to be not successful. And if that were me, I would have used it as an excuse. Something like Gil talked about is always finding excuses and just giving yourself that excuse. And man, 6 months go by, 9 months go by. We do these quarterly appreciation events of who's top for the quarter, for the year, stuff like that. I think we're about 9 months in and she's top 5. I'm like, top 5? How's she doing that? Like, she must have got lucky. Year goes over, she's top 5 in closings. I'm like, how's she doing that? And then we come to find out that while everybody was, working the business like a job, meaning they were calling 9 to 5, she was calling 5 to 7 when everybody was at home. While everybody was chilling on the weekends, she was hitting the phones all day long, open houses, community events, all that stuff. She did this for so long that it was all a numbers game. So much effort. You may think that you have to be skilled in order to get a lot of people to work with you. You really just need to talk to enough people who are in alignment with you, that are okay with who you are and how you show up and how you present yourself. And that's something that I'm working on a lot more now, is being able to say no, being able to realize like a life within alignment is the best life you can have.
That's powerful shit, man.
I love that. I love that. Man, how can people find you? Like the agents that want to work with you and that want to be in alignment with you so that you can help them grow their business because you're clearly good at it. How can they find you?
Yeah, so, I take the title of business development very seriously. I think, the industry that I've been in has been very much marketing based, which is okay. But I'm very driven into developing people's businesses where I can. They can find me Instagram at Chase Greene. That's probably the easiest way. I'm on there the most. I've kind of dove in, and then after your last podcast, I deleted TikTok. So just Instagram at Chase Greene would be the best thing. Chase like the bank, Greene like the color, but with an E at the end. Thank you guys.
Thank you for your time, Chase. Appreciate you guys. Thank you.